Welcome back. Let's talk about Venezuela. Big implications here politically. Joining us, Dr. Charles Ripley, School of Politics and Global Studies at ASU. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited because a few people know about Latin America, even if it's in our own backyard.
And you having lived there for so long and being an expert in the area, I want to start with the implications, the legalities of us going after boats in the open sea and taking them out with our military.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. You know something? The Trump administration was really smart and astute for one reason. They labeled these cartels as terrorist organizations through the State Department. What does that mean? Well, if you look back after 9/11, there were a slew of laws, these authorizations for military attacks against terrorist combats. So now, all of a sudden, he can say, hey, I'm doing exactly what President Obama did in Africa, where he was using drones, taking out terrorist cells. And in fact, Obama was actually entering the sovereign states of African nations to kill people. And his argument was this is legal based on these laws that came out after 9/11. So my argument is if Trump was smart, he would be saying, look, if you have a problem with me doing this, then go back to, as he likes to say, Barack Hussein Obama, and say, hey, Dems, why didn't you complain when he was doing it in Africa? Go ahead.
But the intelligence and the accuracy in knowing that these, because that's always the question is, are they getting what the target really is?
That is it. There's so many intelligence failures. So think about it. When Bill Clinton was bombing the former Yugoslavia, boom, he bombs the Chinese embassy. Everyone on the ground is like, I could have told you where to bomb. Huge intelligence failure. When Clinton bombed the Sudan, the Al-Shifa pharmaceutical plant, he said, oh, there's chemical weapons. There's nuclear. Nope, there was nothing there. We all know weapons of mass destruction. Obama going into, Libya, that was a disaster for intelligence. Intelligence faltered. So one of the things, even though I admit that there is a legality here and that Trump can draw upon that, the problem is intelligence failure. And además, moreover, there is the problem with the politicization of intelligence. So you fast forward it, Tulsi Gabbard fired 2 intelligence analysts, brilliant analysts from the NIC, that's the National Intelligence Council, because they said Maduro, the president of Venezuela, was not linked to El Tren de Aragua. So she said, you're fired. We also recently retired, essentially fired, the Southern Command Admiral, Holsey, who's been in Latin America for quite a while. So I'm a little nervous about, 1, intelligence failures, 2, the politicization of intelligence, and, as I tell my students at ASU, have a healthy incredulity. Don't even listen to me. I'm wrong 95% of the time. I want more evidence that there are drugs on those boats.
What does it say to you when we send warships into the area? Are we just sending a message by saying we're here and available, or is it sending a different message?
Oh, it definitely wants to get Maduro out. Look, you do not send these warships like the USS Ford down to the Caribbean in order to have a picnic, right? They're not there to have a birthday party for anyone. They are putting pressure on Maduro. In fact, right now, they're doing these military exercises in Trinidad and Tobago.
So with the history of regime change we've seen around the world, and you could point out many examples, there's a lot of implications of it then becoming chaos, and then what's going to fill that vacuum? And when it was in Iraq, we ended up getting ISIS because of that vacuum that was created.
I think we created ISIS in a way when they de-Ba'athized the Iraqi army. Where are these, Sunnis going to go? They have weapons. They know how to use them. They went to ISIS to protect themselves from Shia revenge. In this case, the big problem here is Maduro is not the real power. It's a man named Vladimir Padrino. He's head of the military. So even if Maduro as a figurehead, the Venezuelans actually make fun of him. They call him burro. Burro is donkey in Spanish. Yeah. So even if he goes, there is no guarantee that the military apparatus is going to go with the opposition. And the opposition isn't as popular in Venezuela as like we like to lead on, right? Like the Contra War in Nicaragua, or Ahmad Chalabi talked about when we invaded Iraq. So we got to watch out for, in case the government does fall, will it descend into civil war? And is the United States ready to send troops on the ground or the United Nations or some kind of apparatus to create peace?
That's it. The UN piece of this. Is there a UN piece in this puzzle?
You know something? The United Nations gets a lot of flack. I have done research in Colombia, and after the Colombia Civil War, the peace process, Proceso de Paz, they actually were the only group to be able to go in there, collect all the weapons of the FARC, which is, you know, the guerrilla group, and able to create a modicum amount of peace. In fact, I did a lecture on it. I went into a place where they were trying to incorporate these ex-combatants back into society. But that's one of the problems. You want to talk about drugs. A lot of the drug smugglers are ex-FARC, ex-LEN, ex-guerrilleros that were fighting and then just go back to that.
Fascinating information, and I really appreciate the
That was
information
awesome.
expertise.
I loved it.
We'll be back.